Welcome back to Mind Your Biz. My name is Seth, and in today's privacy chat, I have the unique privilege of finally being able to do this. I've threatened to talk to a member of this team for some time. If you've been watching the channel, you've already heard me endorse that you download this wallet client because the network underneath does not have privacy as a primitive feature. So, but yeah, again, been threatening to do it. Finally have a representative from Samourai Wallet, the premier Bitcoin privacy solution. Welcome to Mind Your Biz.
Thanks for having me, Seth. Happy to be here. Finally.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know that Crypto Wendio and myself, we've compared notes when we've done live streams together. And I mean, secret's out, right? Samourai Wallet is the way that you obtain privacy on Bitcoin. There are other ways to do it. But as far as a native on-chain approach, there's really nothing that compares. In my mind, anybody who's familiar kind of with the domain, even a little bit, has sort of come to the same, I think, conclusion that there's not really any other way to go. But let's zoom out a little bit.
Okay.
Step back.
Well, thank you for saying that.
Yeah. Hey, here's the thing. You don't need to toot your own horn when it comes to Bitcoin privacy because of how much work you've done and how well it's stood up over the last several years. So, hey, you earned that. But let's zoom out a little bit and let's give the Mind Your Biz community a bit of an intro to you and a bit of your background. Why would anyone care to receive this kind of a solution from you and from the team, respectfully?
Yeah, sure. Well, Samourai started, it was just myself and my co-founder, TDevD. We were both in the industry. It was in around 2012. We had just discovered Bitcoin, and quite rapidly decided we need to be involved in this thing. This is crazy. This is amazing. We need to be involved. By 2015, after working together for some time in the industry, we had come to the new conclusion that the promise of this thing is amazing, but there are serious privacy considerations. And if, at that time, we still were hopeful that there could be protocol level privacy solutions implemented into Bitcoin. But we were getting less and less sure of that. And we said, well, if they're not going to happen on the protocol, then they need to happen on the application layer, because for this thing to really show its promise, there has to be transactional privacy, and it has to be greater than what you can get right now. So that's why we started Samourai. And in terms of what school I went to or companies I worked for in the past, I can't give you that information.
Sure.
But I had enough of a skill set to be able to get a full-time gig in the Bitcoin industry in 2012, which was brand new, basically.
That's awesome. Yeah. Okay, so you've been able to see every major iteration of the protocol, every major iteration from that point forward. I mean, in a post-Satoshi world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, there you go. Humble bragging about the bags. Here's the thing.
No. That's right. Definitely not a humble brag about the bags. Every Bitcoin I've ever earned has gone into funding Samourai Wallet. Wow. I'm not some, we're not some very wealthy early guys. No, when we were earning Bitcoin, we weren't earning fiat. And when you're earning Bitcoin, you're spending Bitcoin. And, if the price is low, that's great. But the price is low when you spend as well as when you receive, so if your goal was to become wealthy, the way I went wouldn't be the best way to go. The best way to go would have been buying Bitcoin and working a day job and earning fiat. Sure. I jumped all in because my goal wasn't wealth. My goal was a money that's completely separate from the state. That's what attracted me to Bitcoin.
That's awesome. Yeah. So it sounds like that sort of the purest ideology, belief in the mission and vision of Bitcoin, the protocol and the asset. That's awesome. Well, love to hear that. And I think that for most people, that's sort of that's a profile of the person that we want building solutions at the application layer on top of the protocol is people who have that level of belief in the protocol, and who are willing to deal with any of the infighting and the tribalism and the chain splits and the contentious stuff that happens. Just kind of suffer through the growing pains.
Yeah, and all that stuff, again, it wasn't a humble brag. All that stuff is a result of each iterative price hike, because that spurns a new adoption wave. And with each adoption wave, you have a severe dilution of the culture where, you know, and when I got involved, it was all about separating money from the state, having a true censorship-free way of transacting, because transacting is equivalent to speech. You know, so you need to be able to speak freely, you need to be able to transact freely. And, you know, after the first, when it hit 1,000, okay, still not a big deal. People are just excited that, you know, it hit 1,000, but then 10,000, 20,000, the amount of retail that comes in changes the culture where that's not important anymore. What's important now is that we get a return on our investment. We put in this amount expecting Bitcoin number to go up perpetually or forever. That's what we've been told. So that's what we expect. And then now you start talking about privacy, and to a lot of these people, even especially more sophisticated kind of investors, they go, well, that might be a risk to my investment. You know, a private chain might be a regulatory risk, which might cause the value of the asset to go down, and therefore I would lose money. Therefore, I'm against a privacy improvement on the protocol.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I
you know, it's not a nice, it's not great when that happens, but it's something that is bound to happen as a project gains greater adoption.
Yeah, that makes sense. I hadn't considered it in quite those terms, but I mean, it definitely tracks with the narrative of Zuko Wilcox and then Edward Snowden, who very, very late and reluctantly admitted that he was part of the Zcash project. Was that idea of conditional privacy, and I that was kind of a shock coming from somebody who literally had to escape the United States. Like, why is he worried about financial regulation in the United States? So. I don't know, man. A lot of questions. It raised a lot more questions for me about whether or not the rest of this person's stories are to be believed at face value. But to keep the main thing, privacy on Bitcoin and the journey of the Samourai wallet getting into its current iteration. I did a quick scroll through of the website, and I'm gonna spoiler alert. You can go to the bottom again. I threatened to do this in our little green room session. For anybody who's wondering how do I get onboarded into the ecosystem, you got a few options listed here, but because you're open source, you're available. And because you've gone through the effort of managing packages and allowing people to use F-Droid to receive updates, people can get automatic updates through F-Droid.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me for anybody who's not already who's in the Android ecosystem, or AOSP. That's just a fancy way of saying de-Googled Android. But if you're already in that ecosystem and you're not using F-Droid, like this is the high sign. This is your golden invitation. Start using F-Droid, because packages like Samourai Wallet will be automatically updated, but not monitored through Google Play. Yep. So yeah,
F-Droid. We all use de-Googled Androids, personally, and as our work devices and everything like that. So yeah, it's not a question. We have to be on alternative distributions, because it's only a matter of time before Google Play says, you're not welcome here anymore.
Yeah. And I love that there's not even an iPhone option available.
No. I
mean, yeah. Was there ever any discussion about that, or an attempt to get approved by the iTunes store?
No, it never got that far. We're well aware of the approval process that you need to go through to get onto the iOS store. And I have very serious doubts that they would ever approve Samourai Wallet functionality as it exists today on Android. So I don't think it's worth the big investment required to build a iOS app. However, there are now, we'll get into this later, I'm sure, but there are 2 iOS wallets that are working to implement one of our flagship features called WhirlPool into their product. So they have better, they feel that they can get through the iOS review process. They're more optimistic than we are, but they think they can. and they're
All
going
right.
to try it. They're going for it.
Okay. Awesome.
So two are coming to market very quick, and I think a third is talking about it. So iOS users will have something. They won't have Samurai, but they'll have WhirlPool, which we built and has been implemented in multiple clients now.
That's awesome. Okay, well, yeah, I'm a strong believer in just going to the source. I mean, you guys are, since you're developing the WhirlPool functionality, the WhirlPool implementation of CoinJoin, I think I'd rather go with the reference implementation of it than something else. I mean, I wish them Godspeed. I wasn't aware that anyone was building WhirlPool into an iOS wallet client, but I mean, for my part, like, I'd be remiss as a privacy advocate. I'd be remiss if I didn't tell people de-Googled Android it really is the only like big tech surveillance free option for a mobile phone. So like I still don't understand why people think that iOS is a good bet for security.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. De-Googled Android is, especially with the recent Pixel device, is so nice. It's such a nice experience. And it's a secure experience as well, especially if you keep Android up to date, which it's very easy to do. It's not like the old days of flashing ROMs. It's really,
Oh my gosh.
it's really simple.
Oh yeah, 100%. So just a sidebar here, I changed the version of de-Googled Android that I'm using, or hardened Android that I use. I've been on a Pixel device for some years now. I tried Calyx OS for a time and it was okay, but I finally switched to Graphene, and it's night and day.
Yeah, Graphene's great.
I'm loving it, and everything that I want to run runs in sandboxed Google Play services, and the hardening, the relocking of the bootloader, the fact that it can be installed from a web browser, you don't have to be technical to install it. Is pretty great. You don't have to download all the all the Android tools or ADB
it's amazing.
push or whatever.
It's amazing what you can do now.
So like that to me, I mean, I think the high sign for me was that I could show my 12-year-old how to do this easily as a novice without ever having exposure to it before. I can show, whatever, a middle schooler, like, here's a Pixel phone, go make it private, just follow these instructions, done.
Yeah.
So, but anyway,
absolutely.
As an aside there, being able to use F-Droid at that point, and if you've already gone through a couple of those mental hoops of like, all right, well, I figured out how to de-Google my phone. Now, how do I make my Bitcoin more private? It makes the process of downloading the Samourai wallet and then the relatively few steps of making your Bitcoin private that much more approachable, I think, as onboarding goes.
Yeah, absolutely. We, from the start, we've been mobile first. I don't think the future is on desktop for a large segment of the population. If any kids today, likely they've not interacted with a desktop computer. They've only interacted with a tablet and a phone. So I think the future is mobile. Even though I personally use a desktop computer every day, I'm a dinosaur at this point, right? So we've always been mobile first, and we want to provide, which we believe to be the largest segment of users, a way to privately use Bitcoin. And Bitcoin, in terms of the way we see it, is meant to be used. It's meant to be transacted. It's meant to be used on the go. So you need a good mobile wallet for that. And you need a wallet, because Bitcoin, again, is a public network. You need a wallet that's going to take into consideration all of the privacy pitfalls that a user can stumble into without the user having to think about it or know about it, right? And we do our best with that. So whatever we can in Samourai Wallet, we turn on by default, where a user doesn't have to think about it. So for example, at risk of getting too technical, there are multiple script types with addresses. So you'll see some addresses are start with a B, BC1Q. Some start with a 1, some start with a 3, right? There's multiple address types. If you spend from your wallet, which is a SegWit wallet, its addresses start with BC1, right? And you send to an address that starts with 1, in I think every wallet except for Samourai, when you get change back in the transaction, which is a normal thing that happens at a Bitcoin transaction, you receive an output back to your wallet, it will be on a BC1 address, meaning anyone looking at that transaction can easily tell who the sender of is in the resulting transaction, because the sender has a BC1 address and the change output goes back to a BC1 address. So you know who the sender sent Bitcoin to. It was the one address. With Samourai, whatever address type you're sending to, the change output will match that. Simple. So you won't know by looking at it which is the change output and which is the output to the recipient. It's something that the user doesn't have to think about and they don't know about, but it's on by default, and they can turn it off if they want to turn it off, but it's on. So that's awesome. That's a privacy by default approach that we go through. And that's just one example. Then there's other tools. Oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to interject that. I mean, something that's noticeable just as a user, not somebody who's like particularly technical. I consider myself semi-technical, right? I don't build anything for the most part. But it's obvious when you fire up the wallet that Tor is firing up, right? There's a Tor route being established before the user has access to their wallet, and that's an amazing, like you're saying, things that are on by default, something that's that simple. I mean, any wallet client could do it, just to help clean up, have a little bit better.
They should do it. They should do it because it's Bitcoin. It's a public ledger, and the wallet developer, is a steward really of the user's on-chain privacy, because it's the wallet developer who is, most likely selecting which UTXOs to spend, where the change output goes, how the change output is handled. For the most part, the user doesn't control any of these things. So it's the wallet developer who needs to be proactive and say, my user's privacy is on the line. It's like, and I've said this in a conference speech I gave, but we would never tolerate this kind of financial privacy in the meat space real world, right? If your bank account transactions were open to the public, it would be outrageous.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna protest a little bit. Unfortunately, retail consumer behavior is really dumb. I'm gonna frame it that way. So people accepted financial solutions like Venmo, where they labeled that as a feature to be able to broadcast what you've paid and to whom. Yeah. And unfortunately, some consumers thought it was the coolest thing ever, right? That broadcasting their transactions on Facebook, no less, and Instagram and stuff, using Venmo. So unfortunately, there is a lack of sophistication. People are not thinking adversarially, or even just two steps ahead. They're not really thinking about these things, unfortunately. But before Venmo, there was early versions of Bitcoin.
I agree, but that's why I'm saying it's the wallet developer who has that responsibility. The wallet developer should be thinking about that, because they know what tracks are being left behind on the blockchain immutably forever. You cannot get rid of them. And that could be a serious issue down the line for you.
Yeah, no, totally agreed there. It is only a matter of time with the dragnet. Like I know I'm personally acquainted with the IT deployment team that helped build out the NSA data center, the massive one out in Utah, and so like that's very real. The fact that everything we do online is always being put through a dragnet for some future de-anonymization, including encryption, right? So there'll be at some point when the compute power matches the ability to de-anonymize all that previously stored data set. I mean, the federal government is, to name one entity, is interested, and all the three-letter agencies that work for it, they're all interested in being able to de-anonymize any of our previous internet activity. So with Bitcoin, like you're saying, where the feature is like, oh yeah, we made it immutable, it's all there. Like, we're not hiding anything. For sure. It seems like more people should be thinking about more cautiously about where all their UTXOs point. But
absolutely.
But let me ask, as far as there being challenges, hurdles, maybe some big lessons learned along the way, what are some things that really stick out to you on the path to getting to this version of WhirlPool, which is currently stable, and this version of Samourai wallet, which is, currently stable. What were some big challenges and some big wins that you had along the way?
Wow. Gosh.
I know it's an adversarial environment. I know every day is days.
No, I mean, look, I think the biggest thing we learned, and we learned it early, so it was good, is that there is a I wouldn't say large, but a sizable group of people who are, well regarded in the Bitcoin ecosystem. They're sometimes referred to by us as the clique, who are largely against privacy innovation on Bitcoin when it does not originate from their own brains.
Got it. Okay. Well, I know that. I know you got to keep it politically okay.
No. I'm not trying to be politically correct, because I'm not known for that. I'm trying to make sure that I adequately explain what I'm thinking. Okay. So, because again, man, we've been around for a long time now. So we're going to rewind to 2015. 2015 is we've just started Samourai. It's me and T-Dev, and we don't think there's a good enough privacy wallet out there. So at the time there was Dark Wallet, which was started by Amir Taki and Cody Wilson, and they had the first kind of coin join really within Dark Wallet, and stealth addresses. It was a really cool project. It unfortunately kind of fizzled out. They kind of, Cody got into 3D printed guns, and Amir went off to fight in Rojava or somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that project kind of died. And we were like, well, if they're not going to do it, let's do it. So we set up a closed alpha group of about 50 people to try out Samourai Wallet. Literally 50 people. And they would give their feedback, say, this broke, here's some bug, this doesn't make sense, etc., that type of thing, while we were trying to refine the idea and the product. Somehow someone got that APK, decompiled, because we didn't have the source code available. It was still so early. Decompiled it, and noticed that we were using APIs instead of running our own node. We were using APIs to query for balances and stuff. I mean, it was a brand new project, right?
Yeah, sure. MVP. Yeah. And that makes sense to me that your MVP would use an API. Like your minimum viable product, right? That the earliest version would just use an API.
It was just using an API call, and it was querying for balances and transactions and stuff like that. And they published the source code, went to Reddit, made a whole Reddit expose.
Wow.
About how, we're, shysters or whatever they said. Basically, that's not a privacy wallet. They're using third-party APIs, this and that. And I tried to explain, look, we're not live. This was a closed group of people, etc. Anyway, fast forward, and that still is coming up by the same kind of group of people to this day. Even though we obviously aren't relying on third-party APIs, we've built and released open source a whole wallet server that you can run yourself on your own node to power your Samourai wallet with. But I realized at that point, and that was 2015, that unless you're a part of that clique, your contributions to the space aren't welcome. And because we had implemented BIP47, which is stealth addresses for Bitcoin, huge privacy improvement, huge privacy gain.
Yeah.
But the person who wrote that BIP was a big blocker during the fork wars. So his contribution was definitely not wanted.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it got politically sticky.
Yeah, but we implemented it and we pushed it. And, today there's over 200,000 paynims out there, which is our BIP47 stealth address codes on a public database, because it's completely fine to share it with the public. And,
sure.
So learning that early meant that we realized that there are gatekeepers and we need to push through those gatekeepers. And whenever they say, don't do this, or we don't want you, or this is a bad idea, give them zero regard and do it anyway. And that's what we've done. and
Okay,
the
so here you are 8 years later, breaking ankles, man, just doing what you want, punk rock.
The greatest success, the greatest high of this whole journey is where we're at today. We have a great team of contributors, and they're all contributing to this open source project. We have over 7,000 Bitcoin in the WhirlPool liquidity pool. That just happened. That we've hit that new high today. Yes. Over 7,000. We have multiple clients for WhirlPool, which is our CoinJoin technology that we implemented in Samourai wallet in 2019, I think. We have Sparrow on desktop, which has implemented WhirlPool. We have Stack on iOS, who's going to implement it. We have a couple other ones I'm not allowed to name that are working on implementing it.
Right. Now, Stack, pardon the interruption. Stack, that's Diego Salazar's wallet, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, Diego's wallet.
Awesome. Yeah. No, Diego, he's a good egg. He's one of the good ones for sure.
Yeah, exactly. He's been around in our community for a while. A lot of the Monero guys felt comfortable in the Samourai community because we're not maximalists. We don't care what coin you use. We're tool based. We're solution based. We're looking for privacy. Right. We're looking for transaction freedom. And if you can get that with Monero, great.
Yeah, and and amen to that. I mean, that speaks so loudly to the actual needs is to be sort of if you're going to be ideologically driven towards freedom and privacy, not towards a protocol.
Yeah, those people who act that way, I call it like that kind of like toxic maximalist clique is kind of like the hot topic of Bitcoin. Like you can go in and get a ready-made identity, right? All you have to do is put a lightning emoji in your Twitter handle and a little toxic sign, and you're in the clique, that part of the clique. But no, they don't transact. That's the thing. They don't use Bitcoin. They bought some Bitcoin and they put it on a Trezor or something, but they've never actually used it. Where, if you go back to our website, the tagline right at the top is, Bitcoin for the streets, or a wallet for the streets, meaning a wallet you take with you, a wallet that you transact with, a Bitcoin wallet for the streets. And, that's what it means. You're using it. It means you need Bitcoin, right? Part of your daily routine. If you don't have access to a Bitcoin wallet, it's not possible,
Yeah.
Whether it be you can't buy groceries, you can't do this. Like if you're deeply into it, like we have been for this long, you need a Bitcoin wallet to live, and that has to be mobile. You have to transact. You have to be able to be on the go. These guys have never experienced even a fraction of that, Sure. So they have no reference point, so they'll never get it. Not until they need it, not until they need it.
Well, hey, we're closer to that point than ever before. I think I hate to do this, but in interest of time, I've got to wrap up our interview for today. I should just ask first off for public accountability. In setting up this interview, did I ask you for a bounty?
What? No.
And did you offer one? Yeah, no. It's a thing in the crypto community, right? In order to get airtime on certain channels, it'd be almost like a bug bounty, but for publicity, for marketing.
Oh no. Like what? I would
have
to pay you, or you would pay me?
Either way. Did I offer you any Bitcoin? Did you offer me any Bitcoin or any other alts or anything? Yeah.
No, that's what I'm asking. It literally was, you DM me, said, let's get an interview lined up with a link to a calendar's site. And I said, sure. That was it.
Yeah. And I apologize that it's taken so long. I mean,
I know it's been a long time.
Yeah. So, but yeah, just wanted to, for public accountability, I like just reinforcing that for me, it's not just a public service. It's a labor of love. Like I spent years building up a public presence, and for privacy solutions, like I gladly put in that extra time as a public service because it's so important. I mean, I genuinely believe it's the last frontier that we're going to be able to do to battle bad policy through is privacy preserving tech.
And we have to do it now before it's you're not allowed to do it.
We're right on the cusp. It has to
exist.
Right?
Yes.
Certainly in the United States. I mean, bad policy is, it's on the warpath right now. You got these characters like Elizabeth Warren claiming to be raising an army, right? Air quotes against everybody in the space that wants the freedom to transact and the freedom to invest the way they see fit.
Yeah, so absolutely.
So yeah. Anyway, just wanted to make that clear that that this is a public service, and that yeah, if you're building something that is genuinely privacy focused, and like you and TDEV are doing, that is ideologically like about the privacy and not about just number go up, then yeah, you get it's a free mic, right? Mi casa su casa.
Well, I'm very happy. I was very happy to be here, and maybe we can do it again. Finish up the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love that to come back for a part 2 if you're open to it. I don't know if TDEV is the publicity guy or gal or even wants to deal with this, but panels are always welcome too. So
sure thing.
Yeah, let me ask before we cut this short. I've got on the screen samouraiwallet.com. Is there any other place that is best for people to interact with the team if they have questions, or for documentation, or just to get involved in some meaningful way?
Yeah, absolutely. So I communicate mostly with users on Twitter at Samourai Wallet, and on Telegram. If you just search for Samourai Wallet, you'll find our group. We have an active group there, and they're very helpful, especially if you're a new user, you have some questions, someone from the community will help out. One of the things we've invested heavily in is support and customer support. So we're close to 24-hour, 7-day-a-week coverage. We're not quite there yet, but we're close to it. So if you click that little chat bubble on the bottom of our website right there, it will have a live chat come up. So if you have any questions, we'll be able to help you out there. Also on Telegram, we also have a support bot that you can talk to that pipes through to a live agent. Documentation can be found, again, on the website at the top bar there. Very extensive documentation. And I also I've been recommending this to everyone who listens to me on podcasts. Check out our YouTube, search for Samourai Wallet. We have not only a huge amount of short, like 2-minute videos on how to use certain functionality of the wallet. We have long form content going in depth into analysis of certain Bitcoin events, certain transactions, different types of coin joins. And we have a privacy series that I highly recommend watching. I think the total, it's 6 videos, I think, and they're 30 minutes in length total. So it's really easy to get through, but after it, you will have a really firm understanding of a basic Bitcoin transaction construction, and how basic, how you can shoot yourself in the foot without knowing it by not knowing these simple things. And once you do know these simple things, you won't shoot yourself in the foot. So I highly recommend that. And that's about it.
Okay, awesome. Well, appreciate the time. Everything that you just mentioned will be available as a link in the description of this video. Thank you for spending the time with the Mind Your Biz community. And yeah, I really look forward to a round 2, potentially with TDEV or
absolutely
without. Doesn't matter. Again, mi casa su casa. Thank you for putting in. I mean, you're going on over a decade of work in the industry, and over 8 years, I guess, at this point. I mean, I don't know who's counting, but over 8 years at this point on Samourai and on WhirlPool. So, I mean, really, it's the least I can do to just lend the little megaphone that I have here on YouTube to you and the team. So thank you again. Appreciate that.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Mind Your Biz community. Check out those links in the description. And yeah, everyone's always looking for alpha. Not enough people are looking for privacy. You'll have no alpha if you don't have privacy. Go follow those links. But yeah, thank you again.